Hello, my good students at home and viewers. Online with you is Ofojee Eucharia of Mathematics Department from St. Charles College, Onitsha. The topic is trigonometric ratio 3, where we have to discuss on compass and 3 digits bearing. But before we go on to the lesson, there's a topic I want you to look at first, because along the line, I will touch it. And maybe you have forgotten it because it's in your junior class. Now, I want you to watch at the board as I point to you what those things indicate. If you look at this is parallel lines where a transversal line cuts it. In those lines, you see A, B, C, D, and E. And by the sides, you will see the angles that is located there individually. Now, I want you to look at the main one I want to touch is when you look at B, you see that what I have in the bracket there is 50 degrees. And what I also have in brackets by the side of E is 50 degrees. So whenever we have B and in the other side we have E, we call them alternate angles, and they are always equal. Likewise, if you look at C, you see in brackets 75 degrees. And when you move down after the first line, you see inside the brackets, you see 75 degrees. We call it corresponding angle. So whenever we have C and below it is D, both of them must be equal as long as these parallel lines and the cutting of the transversal line is involved. Thank you. Let's now move on to where we are this morning. Having seen what I've just introduced to you, the alternate and corresponding angle, the specific objectives for this particular lesson, compass and 3-digit bearings are, by the end of the lesson, the students should be able to 1. Find compass and 3-digit bearing. 2. Convert compass bearing to 3-digit bearing. 3. Convert 3-digit bearing to compass bearing. To locate compass bearing, the concept compass bearing is as it can be obtained in any cardinal points as shown below. You see the cardinal points north, south, east, and west. But we cannot use north, south, east, and west in this topic. In this topic, we have added another 4, making it 8 cardinal points, where we have the addition to be northeast, southeast, southwest, and northwest. Now, I want you to look and see why and how we name them like that. If you watch, you will see that the north and the south are controlling those 4 cardinal added points. The other one is northeast, which means that when you want to locate the northeast, you will move from north and go to what? East. That is why north is first, then followed by east. If you also go down, you will see that in southeast, you move from south to east. And that is why the arrow moves like that. Also in the other one is southwest. You move from south to west. And that's why the arrow is like that. And finally, in the north, you move from north to west. And that's why the arrow has it to be northwest. And I want you to understand that in this compass bearing, it lies between 0 and 90 degrees. Any angle that is above 90 degrees is no more compass bearing. And the way you see it that is written is either you have it north 65 degrees east or south 55 degrees west. You can also have north 56 degrees east. You can as well have south 33 degrees west. But what I want you to understand is you cannot exceed 90 degrees. And when you are writing it, you know where the location is. It's either northeast, southeast, southwest, or northwest. Good. We want now to do it, and you will see how it's moving to locate compass bearing. We are going to solve some examples on how to locate angles in compass bearing as follows. Example 1. Locate the following in compass bearing. Just as I have told you, you see number A is north 58 degrees east. B, south 76 degrees west. C, south 63 degrees east. And in the solution, you see it. That arrow that I told you in number A, you see that we start from north and move 58 degrees towards east. And that is where the location is. So the location must be in between north going to east. But because it's not up to 90 degrees, you can say that it stops along the angle. So that is 58 degrees. If you get to B, what we have is south 76 degrees west. You can also remember in the introduction that we say that we must move from south to west. And you can see the arrow moving from south to west. It is not up to 90 degrees, so it stops in between south and west. And that is why we have it as south 76 degrees west. And in the last one, it is south 63 degrees east. You can also see the arrow moving from south going to east. But because it's not up to 90 degrees, it stops in between south and the east. And that's why we have it to be south 63 degrees east. So that is how you will always locate whenever they give you something like in compass bearing, so that you will know when to locate it and how. If you miss the arrow, you will fail the angle. Thank you. To locate 3 digits bearing. Remember, the topic is compass and 3 digits bearing. In 3 digits bearing, it always starts from north and move clockwise direction from 0 degrees to 360 degrees. Now, I want you to bring the two together. You see that when we are discussing angle, we can't stop at 90 degrees. And that is why this next topic takes us to the completion of that 360 degrees, which is the angle in mathematics. So this 3 digits bearing is controlling from 0 to 360. But remember, it must start from north and move. And we said it is 3 digits. So the values are always what? 3. If it is not up to 3, you use 0 to update it, as you can see in the examples. First, 057 degrees. The next, 035 degrees. But when we have 237 degrees, you see that there's no 0 again because it completes the 3 digits and so on. So all values must be in digits, unlike that of compass what? Bearing. You see that in compass bearing, it is on its own, on the angle. It's not on digits. But this 3 digits bearing is on digits, and that's what we are saying. Now, let's look at the next examples on 3 digits bearing. 1, 065 degrees. If you look at it, I told you that it must start from north. And that is why you see the arrow moving from north to what? Where it stops. And that is what is 65 degrees. The next one is 110 degrees. If you watch it, you see that it's changed a little bit down in the arrow from north because it is above 90 degrees. So it moves down after the 90 degrees. The next one is 236 degrees. You actually see the arrow again from north moving. It has exceeded 180 degrees and is moving towards 270, but it didn't get to that. And that's why you see the arrow stopping there. Then in number 4, 315 degrees, you see the arrow start from north and move to where we have 315 degrees because it is not up to 360. So this is how you will always locate your 3-digit bearing. It must start from the north, remember, but in compass bearing, it says in between the north, south, east, and the west. We want to convert the following compass bearing to 3-digit bearing. North 50 degrees east, south 74 degrees west. Now, the first thing you need to do is to write it first to compass bearing. And you can see it, that it is north, east. So, it stops in between north and east because it's not 90 degrees, remember. Now, we want to convert it to 3-digit bearing. Remember that in 3-digit bearing, you are advised and you are told that it must start from the north and move clockwise direction. Now, I want you to see the difference between the two figures. In the west-east of the second figure, it is ruled in dotted lines. That means we are no more discussing compass bearing. But we want to tell you why we stop at that very place where you see the arrow. Those dotted line is to tell you that 50 degrees is not up to 90 degrees. And so, when it moves from north, it must stop before it gets to 90 degrees. And you update it because it must be written in 3 digits. So that is in 3-digit bearing, 0, 50 degrees. In the second one, south, 74 degrees west. If you still remember the original arrow, it is now moving from south, going to what? West. But because it is not up to 90 degrees to get to west, it stopped in between north, south, and what? West. And that's why we call it south, 74 degrees west. Now, we want to convert it to 3-digit bearing. If you get to the second figure, you also see that the north, the west, and the east, they are also in dotted line. North 0 to south, that is from the middle to south, it is also dotted line. Now, why we want to show you this is to tell you that 200 and that south 74 degrees west is trying to locate itself south and west. And when we move from north, I want you to be watching it with the first figure. If you move from north and be going, you will see where we located 74 degrees. And that's where we are moving to. And you saw in the second figure that we've passed north-south, which is a straight line, 180 degrees. And we are moving towards west, which will be 270, but it's not up to that. So that is why what we have there will be 180 degrees plus. I want you to look at the other figure. That's 74 degrees. You see that when we get to 180 degrees, we move and we keep on moving. Where we are going to is to get our 74 degrees. So when you add that 74 degrees to 180 degrees, you see that from north, moving towards that 74 degrees, what we have will be 254 degrees. And that is where we locate it as in 3-digit bearing. In this next example, we want to bring it together. Why do we want to bring it together? This topic we are going to use in the next topic, and we have to bring in distance, movement. For in the next topic, we are going to bring in angle and the movement of the angles. Now, in the example, they ask the question, a town Z is 130 kilometers from a town Q in the direction 50 degrees. What is the bearing of Z from Q? You see, it has involved movement, and we want to introduce to you that it has to move. When we get to the next topic, this particular topic, we have to move with the next topic. Now, I want you to look at that again. You see that the knot, because it is 3-digit bearing, it still move from knot. And get to where you see the arrow. We now move it because it wants to get to Q in a particular distance. So from that Z to Q, you see it is 130 kilometers. It stopped. It has moved and stopped 130 kilometers. So they want us to look at the angle between Z from Q. And I want you to look at again. If you reflect back of what I taught you in the introduction, you see that we have alternate angle. That's why you saw 050 degrees, and in the next other side, you also saw 050 degrees. We call it alternate angles. So we can see from the above that the arrow has passed 180 degrees. Can you see it there? The arrow has passed that straight line. And of course, you knew that the sum of angle in a straight line is 180 degrees. It has passed that 180 and is moving towards getting that 50 degrees, which have alternated from the original 050 degrees. So we also see another 50 degrees, which is alternate to the other 50 degrees. And that is why we added that 50 degrees to 180 degrees, because we are moving towards getting to the point where it stopped. And that gave us 230 degrees as the answer. So my students, it's just to tell you that we don't only talk about locating angles, that we want to tell you more on the movement of the angles in the next topic. And that is why this example is there. And so we come to the end of the lesson with the following evaluation tests. Draw the 3-digit bearing of the following: 068 degrees, 257 degrees. Draw the following compass bearing: south 75 degrees east, south 46 degrees west. I hope that you get the lesson, and I knew that you will get the evaluation test solved. Thank you for listening, and God bless you. The contact is via 07035 365700. Thank you for listening, and God bless you.